Davina Claire entered the originals as a terrified young girl trapped in a world that never cared about her innocence. She was a child forced to carry the weight of ancient magic on shoulders that had barely learned how to live. While others chose power, Davina was chosen by it, without consent or mercy. She was raised not with love, but with expectations. The witches of New Orleans saw her not as a human being, but as a weapon. Her childhood was stolen long before her life ever was. Davina learned early that survival meant obedience, even when obedience broke her soul. Every spell she cast drained a piece of her humanity. Every ritual reminded her that she was disposable. Unlike the Michael sons, she never had centuries to harden her heart. She felt everything too deeply, too honestly. That sensitivity became both her greatest strength and her greatest curse. She loved fiercely, trusted fully, and suffered endlessly because of it. Power isolated her from normal life, friendships, and peace. The city of New Orleans fed on her magic while ignoring her pain. She was praised when useful and discarded when inconvenient. Even death did not grant her rest. Each time she fought back, the world punished her harder. Davina was never allowed to simply exist. She had to earn her right to breathe. Her story is not about becoming powerful. It is about surviving power. It is about a girl constantly forced to choose between revenge and compassion. Between hatred and mercy. Between becoming like her enemies or remaining herself. She lost family, love, trust, and safety. Yet she never lost her conscience. In a world of monsters, Davina remained painfully human. That humanity made her suffer more than anyone else. And that is why her story is one of the most tragic in the originals. 1. Davina was sacrificed by her own people. Davina's tragedy began the moment the witches decided her life was worth less than their power. She was selected as one of the harvest girls before she could understand what death truly meant. The ritual demanded her life in exchange for balance, and no one asked if she was willing. She trusted the elders because she believed witches protected their own. That trust was shattered brutally. Being prepared for sacrifice taught her that loyalty was conditional. She learned that obedience did not guarantee safety. Her fear was dismissed as weakness. Her screams were ignored as necessary loss. When the harvest failed, Davina was blamed instead of protected. The witches who should have mourned her turned against her. She became a reminder of their failure. Rather than heal her trauma, they isolated her further. She was forced to live with immense magic she never asked for. The power inside her became unstable because her soul was already fractured. Every spell reminded her of the ritual table. Every chant echoed betrayal. She could never see witchcraft as sacred again. It became something violent and cruel. Her resentment toward the covens was justified, yet misunderstood. They called her dangerous instead of wounded. No one acknowledged the child they broke. Davina learned that institutions often destroy those they claim to protect. This betrayal shaped her anger. It also shaped her independence. She stopped waiting for permission to exist. She stopped trusting authority blindly. But the damage remained. Being sacrificed by her own people left a wound that never truly healed. It was the first lesson that love in her world always came with a cost. 2. She was manipulated. After surviving the harvest, Davina's life became a constant cycle of manipulation. The witches wanted her power but feared her autonomy. Marcel wanted her loyalty but controlled her choices. The Michael sons wanted her silence or her usefulness. No one asked what Davina wanted. She was treated like a bargaining chip in supernatural politics. Every alliance came with hidden conditions. Every promise was temporary. She was praised when obedient and threatened when defiant. Her emotions were exploited because she cared deeply. People used her grief to control her decisions. They framed manipulation as protection. But protection never felt like a cage to Davina. She was constantly told what was best for her. Rarely was she allowed to decide for herself. This eroded her sense of safety. It taught her that trust was dangerous. Even kindness felt suspicious. Her anger was a response to being cornered. Her cruelty was a shield, not a desire. She learned to strike first to avoid being hurt again. People mistook her defense for arrogance. They ignored the years of emotional abuse. Davina was never allowed to grow naturally. She was forced to mature through trauma. Every mistake she made was punished severely. Yet the mistakes of others were forgiven instantly. She was held to impossible standards. This constant manipulation hardened her heart. But deep down, she still longed to be seen as more than her magic. 3. She hated Klaus, yet still helped his daughter Hope. Davina had every reason to hate Klaus Michelson. He represented everything that ruined her life. His cruelty toward witches was relentless. His manipulation cost her friends, freedom, and peace. He treated power as entitlement, not responsibility. To Davina, Klaus was a symbol of unchecked violence. She despised his arrogance. She resented his lack of remorse. She blamed him for countless deaths. Her hatred was not irrational. It was earned. Yet when Hope Michelson entered the world, something changed. Hope was innocent in a way Davina once was. She saw herself in that child. A powerful being born into danger without choice. Davina refused to let Hope become another victim of adult cruelty. Despite her hatred for Klaus, she helped protect Hope. Not for Klaus. Never for Klaus. But for the child who did not deserve the sins of her father. This decision revealed Davina's true nature. She could separate innocence from guilt. She refused to punish a child for a parent's crimes. Helping Hope went against her anger. But it aligned with her conscience. It proved she was morally stronger than those who hurt her. She chose compassion over vengeance. That choice cost her emotionally. It reopened old wounds. But it also proved that Davina's heart survived everything meant to destroy it. 4. Davina was punished for loving Cole. Davina's love for Cole Michelson was one of the few pure things she was ever allowed to feel. Cole treated her as a person, not a weapon. With him, she laughed instead of survived. She dreamed instead of defended. For once, love felt safe. But in her world, safety was temporary. The Michelsons viewed her love as a liability. They saw Cole's affection as weakness. Instead of respecting her happiness, they weaponized it. Cole's death shattered Davina completely. It was not just the loss of a lover. It was the loss of the future she imagined. She blamed the Michelsons, and rightly so. They ripped away the one person who chose her without conditions. Her grief turned into rage. And that rage was justified. She was mocked for mourning. Her pain was treated as inconvenience. No one offered her time to heal. They expected her to move on quickly. But love does not disappear on command. Davina carried Cole's absence like an open wound. She tried to bring him back because love made her desperate. Her desperation was punished brutally. The world labeled her dangerous again. Yet no one questioned why she was broken. She was punished for loving too deeply. Punished for hoping. Punished for refusing to accept loss quietly. Cole's death taught her that love in her world was always paid for in blood. 5. Michael tricked her into killing Klaus. Michael Michelson did not overpower Davina with force. He overpowered her with lies. He approached her not as a monster, but as an ally. He spoke to her as if he understood her pain. He listened to her anger about Klaus. He validated her hatred instead of dismissing it. That alone made him dangerous. Michael framed himself as justice. As a necessary evil. As the one who could end Klaus and free the world from his cruelty. To a girl who had already lost so much to Klaus, this sounded like hope. Davina wanted accountability. She wanted an end to the bloodshed. Michael promised both. He never told her the full truth. He never revealed the scale of his violence. He hid his willingness to sacrifice anyone in his path. Davina believed she was helping restore balance. She believed she was preventing future deaths. Instead, she was used as a tool of vengeance. Michael exploited her grief and anger. He used her youth against her. He let her believe she was in control. But she never was. When the truth surfaced, the damage was already done. Davina realized she had helped another monster. Not justice. Not peace. Just a different form of brutality. That realization crushed her. She was forced to carry guilt that never should have been hers. Michael walked away, but Davina remained with the consequences. It deepened her distrust of allies. It taught her that even shared enemies can lie. And it reinforced the cruel lesson that powerful men always find ways to use vulnerable girls. 6. She was constantly blamed for chaos she didn't create. Whenever something went wrong, Davina was blamed. Her power made her an easy scapegoat. Others caused destruction, but she paid the price. Her mistakes were magnified. The Michelsons' crimes were excused. Which elders escaped accountability? Davina never did. She carried guilt that was never fully hers. People expected her to clean up messes she didn't make. When she failed, punishment followed. She was never allowed to be young. Never allowed to be reckless. Never allowed to learn safely. Every error became a threat. This pressure crushed her emotionally. She internalized blame. She began to believe she deserved suffering. That belief haunted her choices. She sacrificed herself repeatedly. She accepted pain as normal. That is trauma speaking. Not strength. But the world mistook it for arrogance. They ignored the impossible burden she carried. She was held responsible for balance she didn't control. That responsibility aged her prematurely. She became tired in ways youth should never know. Yet she continued fighting. Continued caring. Being blamed constantly stole her sense of innocence forever. 7. Forgiving the Michelsons cost her inner peace. Davina's forgiveness was never easy. It was not quick. It was not complete. Yet she attempted it anyway. Forgiving the Michelsons meant swallowing justified anger. It meant accepting that accountability would never truly come. She forgave not because they deserved it, but because hatred was consuming her. Holding on to rage was destroying what little peace she had left. Forgiveness became a survival tactic. But it came at a cost. She had to silence parts of herself. She had to ignore unresolved pain. She had to coexist with those who caused her suffering. Every interaction reopened old wounds. Every compromise felt like betrayal of her younger self. She struggled internally with resentment. Forgiveness did not erase memory. It only changed how she carried it. She still remembered Cole's death. She still remembered betrayal. She still remembered being powerless. Forgiving meant choosing peace over justice. And peace felt incomplete. She never truly trusted them. She only tolerated them. That tolerance exhausted her emotionally. Forgiveness did not make her weak. But it demanded strength she barely had left. Letting go hurt almost as much as holding on. Davina Claire's story does not end with victory, peace, or justice. It ends with survival. And sometimes, survival is the cruelest ending of all. She lived through betrayals that would have destroyed most people. She loved in a world that punished love relentlessly. She trusted in systems that sacrificed her without hesitation. She gave mercy where hatred would have been easier. And she paid for that mercy again and again. Davina was never evil. She was hurt. She was never power-hungry. She was desperate to be safe. Every act of rebellion came from wounds, not malice. Every mistake came from fear, not cruelty. She was a child forced to grow up inside trauma. A girl expected to carry ancient magic with no guidance or protection. The world called her dangerous while creating the danger within her. They blamed her for storms they themselves summoned. And still, she chose compassion when it mattered most. She protected innocence even when her own was long gone. She loved Cole even when love only brought loss. She helped hope despite her hatred for Klaus. That choice alone proves her moral strength. Davina never became what the world wanted her to be. She never surrendered her conscience. Her pain did not turn her into a monster. It only made her more human. And that humanity is why her story hurts so deeply. Davina Claire was not weak for feeling everything. She was strong for surviving it all without losing her soul.